Most people who read The Science of Getting Rich treat it like a magic manual. They underline the word attract. They wait for the universe to send a check. And when nothing happens, they either blame the book or blame themselves. Here's what almost nobody does. Read it the way Bob Proctor did, as a system, not attraction, not luck. Mindset, paradigm, and organized action. This video is about 2 layers. Wattles is the source, the book, the original ideas. Proctor is the mentor who taught and applied it. First, what Wallace Wattles actually wrote, stripped of the language that makes people either dismiss the book or turn it into magic. Second, how Bob Proctor turned it into something you can do every day. Paradigm, self-image, daily reading, definite purpose, and a 5-step protocol. By the end, you'll have a clear protocol. 5 steps, no heroics, no miracle promises. Just a structured way to think and act in the direction of wealth. And if you've never read the book, that's fine. We'll cover enough of it here that you can start the protocol and then read it with different eyes. Disclaimer: this does not replace financial, legal, or tax advice. When we talk about money and income, we're talking about mindset, habits, and behavior, not guarantees. What you do with that is your responsibility. The book is short, the title is loud, so people assume it's about wanting more money and then receiving it. That's not what it's about. Wattles isn't saying, think rich and money appears. He's saying, there is a way to relate to reality that is creative instead of competitive. And when you operate that way, you tend to make different decisions. Those decisions, over time, increase the likelihood of creating value, and value in a market economy often translates into income. Not by magic, by cause and effect in the world of action. So the first correction is simple. The book is not about attracting money. It's about thinking in a way that supports creating value. Wealth starts in the mind, not as a wish, but as an organized way of seeing and acting. Quick diagnostic. If you've read the book and you recognize this, you're in the right place. You felt inspired for a week, then life took over. You're not sure what thinking stuff means in practice. You tried gratitude lists and nothing changed. You want a bridge from the book to daily behavior. That bridge is exactly what we're building. One error that kills the whole thing, treating the book as a belief test. As in, if I believe enough, money will come. Wattles is not asking you to believe in the invisible. He's asking you to think creatively, act in a certain way, and do it with persistence. The moment you make it about belief instead of behavior, you're reading it wrong. Short example. Someone reads the book and decides, I'm going to think like I'm rich, so they buy things they can't sustain or they wait for a sign. Nothing shifts. Another person reads it and asks, what value can I create with what I have today? They start a small service, improve a process at work, or learn one skill that increases their capacity to deliver. Month by month, their behavior compounds. The first person stayed in wish. The second moved into organized action. The book is for the second. So before we go into Wattles and then Proctor, hold this. Wealth in this framework is mentalidad plus paradigm plus action. No fantasy, no luck. Clarity, repetition, gratitude, small organized actions, and calm persistence. Who this is for? Someone who has read the book and felt inspired, but didn't know what to do next. Someone who is willing to try a 30-day protocol with daily reading and micro-actions. Someone who prefers structure over inspiration. Who it's not for? Anyone looking for a guarantee, a get-rich-quick formula, or a substitute for financial or legal advice. This is a way to think and act. What happens with your income is influenced by many factors. We're working on one of them. Your mindset, your paradigm, and your daily behavior. If you're in acute financial crisis or need debt or legal advice, address that with the right professionals first. The protocol is for building a way of thinking and acting over time, not for replacing emergency support. Wallace Wattles wrote The Science of Getting Rich over a century ago. His language is old. He talks about formless substance, thinking stuff, and the source. If you get stuck there, the book feels either magical or silly, so we'll strip it to what matters for application. You can keep your own view of metaphysics. What we need for the protocol is thought influences attention and action. Action influences results. Creation beats pure competition. Gratitude shifts focus from lack to what exists, and you must act in a certain way, with clarity and persistence. That's the extract. The rest is context and period language. First idea. There is a thinking stuff. Wattles uses that phrase to say, your mind is not separate from the way things unfold. Your thoughts shape your attention. Your attention shapes what you notice and do. What you do shapes your results. He's not claiming that thought alone creates money. He's claiming that thought directs action. So the starting point is, you have to think in a way that supports creation, not only competition. Second idea, creative versus competitive. Most people approach wealth by competing for a fixed pie. Wattles says there's another way. Create. Don't just take from others, add something. Find a need, solve a problem, improve a process. Offer a service or product that didn't exist in that form before. The creative mindset asks, what can I build? The competitive mindset asks, what can I take? The book is firmly on the side of creation. That doesn't mean you ignore competition. It means you don't base your strategy on beating others to a scarce resource. You base it on adding value. Example, two people in the same company want a promotion. The competitive mindset spends energy on politics, visibility, and outshining colleagues. The creative mindset asks, what problem can I solve that nobody else is solving? What can I build or improve that makes the whole team more effective? The second person is still in a workplace with limited slots, but they're playing a different game. They're creating value and letting that be the argument. Wattles would say that's the certain way. You don't have to leave the market. You have to stop basing your move only on taking from a fixed pie. Third idea, gratitude. Wattles is explicit. Gratitude keeps your mind in a state that receives and creates, not as a cosmic rule, as a practical one. When you're focused on lack, your attention and behavior skew towards scarcity. When you acknowledge what you already have, you're more likely to see opportunities and take calm, consistent action. In the protocol, we'll use it as daily attention training. 3 to 5 items, same time if you can. Gratitude metric, 30 days. Rate your scarcity tone from 0 to 10 before you write the list and after. You're not chasing emotion. You're tracking a shift in attention. If the number drops even 1 point on average, your decisions usually get calmer. Fourth idea, action in a certain way. This is where the book becomes operational. You must act, not randomly, in a certain way. That means clear direction, organized steps, no rush, no drama. Wattles says do every day what can be done that day, in the direction of your definite purpose. No overwork, no heroics. Just forward motion, repeated. What in a certain way does not mean working until you burn out or doing a little bit of everything. It means one clear direction, and every day you do what can be done that day toward that direction. So the book is also a filter. If an action doesn't move you toward your definite purpose, it's not part of today's certain way. That's how you avoid scattered effort. Objection. Wattles talks about thinking stuff and formless substance, and isn't that mystical? Fair question. You can read that as metaphysics or as metaphor. For application, what matters is your thinking shapes your attention and your actions. You don't have to sign up for a cosmic force. You only need to accept that the way you think influences what you do, and what you do influences what you get. That's enough to run the protocol. So the Wattles base in 4 lines: think creatively, operate from creation, not only competition, practice gratitude so your mind isn't stuck in lack, act in a certain way with clarity and persistence. That's the literary layer, the source text. Now we add the mentor who turned it into a teachable system, Bob Proctor. One more nuance before we leave Wattles. He wrote in 1910, "The world has changed, but the distinction between creative and competitive thinking hasn't." Today you might be creating through content, through a side project, through a better process at work, through a service that didn't exist before. The principle is the same. You're adding to the world, not only claiming a share. And action in a certain way still means one clear direction. Do today what can be done today, no heroics. So the book is old, the structure is still usable. Bob Proctor didn't just recommend the book, he taught it, and his contribution was to connect Wattles to 2 things, paradigm and identity. Paradigm is the mental program you run without thinking. It's the set of assumptions about what's possible, what you deserve, and how money works. Proctor's point: if your paradigm says money is scarce or I don't deserve more, you can want wealth all you want. Your default behavior will still align with the old program. So the first application of Wattles through Proctor is, you have to become aware of the paradigm, not destroy it in one day. See it. Then feed it new input. That's where self-image comes in. Proctor, like Maxwell Maltz, talks about self-image as a thermostat. Your financial results tend to match the image you hold of yourself in relation to money. If that image is "I struggle" or "I'm not a money person," the system pulls you back toward that level. So the work isn't to repeat "I am rich" until the universe obeys. The work is to shift the thermostat through evidence, small actions that you can sustain, so the brain starts to register, "This is also who I am." Proctor's reading of Wattles is, think in a certain way, act in a certain way, repeat. The repetition is what updates the thermostat. He was famous for one concrete habit. Read The Science of Getting Rich every day for 30 days. Not skim. Read. One chapter a day or a few pages, but every day. Why? So the ideas stop being theory and start becoming part of your mental environment. You're not memorizing, you're conditioning. The book becomes a daily dose of creative, grateful, certain way thinking. That's the Proctor layer. Paradigm awareness, self-image as thermostat, and structured repetition through daily reading. Why 30 days? Because one read gives you ideas. Repeated reads change the default. In the first week, you're still translating Wattles' language. By the second week, you start to notice where you're competitive instead of creative, or where you're stuck in lack. By the third and fourth week, the ideas start to show up without you forcing them. You're in a meeting and you think, "What can I add?" instead of, "How do I look?" That's paradigm shift. It doesn't happen in one sitting. It happens through exposure. Progress marker. By week 2, you should catch one competitive thought per day and replace it with one creative question. If you never catch it, you're reading but not applying. First week versus fourth week. Week 1, you're reading to understand. You might underline creative and certain way and still not know what to do Monday morning. Week 4, you've read the same chapters several times. You know the structure. When a problem shows up, you might automatically ask, "What can I create here?" or "What's the one thing I can do today?" That's not magic. That's repetition. The book has become part of your mental environment. Proctor's bet was that 30 days of that would shift the thermostat for most people who also did the other steps. Clarity, gratitude, micro-action. Not everyone, but many. And the only way to know for you is to run the experiment. Objection you might have. "I don't have time to read the same book for 30 days. Answer, you don't need an hour. You need 10 to 15 minutes, one chapter. The point is consistency, not volume. If 30 days feels heavy, start with 14. The mechanism is the same. Repeated exposure so the mind starts to default toward the ideas. Another thing Proctor did, he made definite purpose practical. Wattles says you need a clear vision. Proctor says write it. One page. What you want, in detail. Not "I want more money." Something like the kind of work you want to do, the kind of life you want to fund, the kind of value you want to create. Clarity first, then action in that direction. That connects directly to identity. You're not waiting to get rich. You're becoming someone who thinks and acts in a way that creates value. The identity shift is the real outcome. Income is a possible consequence of that shift over time. Objection. Reading doesn't pay bills. True, reading alone doesn't. That's why the protocol forces a daily micro-action tied to value creation. If you read and don't act, you're collecting ideas. If you read and act, you're building evidence, and evidence is what shifts self-image. Micro-story. A woman in Proctor's orbit had a paradigm. Money is for others, not for me. She read the book for 30 days, not to memorize it, but to let the ideas land. She wrote a one-page definite purpose, to help a certain number of people per year through a specific service, and to fund a simple, stable life without debt. She didn't change her job on day 1. She added one micro-action, one outreach or one small improvement per day. Within a few months, she noticed her self-talk shifting. Within a year, she had raised her pricing by about 20% after aligning her offer with the outcomes clients actually got. No miracle. Repetition, clarity, gratitude, and small actions. That's the Proctor application in practice. Objection? What if I don't know my definite purpose yet? Then step 1 is to discover it, not to skip it. Use the 30 days of reading as discovery. As you read, notice what kind of value you're drawn to creating. By week 2 or 3, draft a one-sentence purpose. Test it. Does it point to creation or only to having more? Refine. The protocol doesn't require a perfect purpose on day 1. It requires that you have a direction before you multiply actions. So I'm not sure yet is a reason to start the reading and the gratitude and to write a first draft of purpose, not a reason to avoid the protocol. In a minute, I'll give you the 30-day protocol. But first, you need one distinction, because if you miss it, you'll read daily and still stay broke. Creative versus competitive thinking in daily decisions. We've covered it in Wattles. Now we make it practical. So we have Wattles as base and Proctor as application. Now we structure it into 5 steps. No heroics, no urgency, just a protocol you can follow. A typical day on the protocol looks like this. Morning or evening, 10 to 15 minutes reading one chapter of the book. Same time each day if possible. Then list 3 to 5 things you're grateful for. Can be on paper or in your head. Then one micro-action. One message, one call, one 15-minute block of work that moves toward your definite purpose. That's it. The whole thing can fit in under 30 minutes. On busy days, you shrink. 1 page of the book, 1 line of gratitude, 1 tiny action. The protocol survives when it can shrink. It dies when it demands a full hour every day and you can't sustain it. Step 1. Defined clarity. Write your definite purpose. 1 page. What kind of value do you want to create? What kind of life does that support? Be specific enough that you can tell when you're moving toward it or away from it. This isn't a vision board for the universe, it's a direction for you. Proctor insisted on this. Clarity before action. If you've never written one, start with 1 sentence. My definite purpose is to create what kind of value, so that what kind of life or result. Then expand. Who is it for? What does it look like in a year? What's one thing you can do today that moves toward it? The 1-page version is the full picture. The 1-sentence version is the compass. You need at least the compass before step 2. Example sentences. My definite purpose is to help 10 small businesses per year simplify their operations so that I fund a stable life and they keep more of what they earn. Or, my definite purpose is to create content that makes 1 idea per week clearer for my audience so that I build a body of work and they get practical tools. My definite purpose is to get better at 1 skill that increases my value at work so that in 2 years I have more options and less financial anxiety. Notice, value created, who it's for, and what kind of life or result it supports. Not, I want to be rich, specific enough that you can tell if you're moving toward it. What if your purpose isn't mainly about money? Some people want impact, freedom, or time, that's fine. The protocol still works. Your definite purpose can be to create X value so that I have Y kind of life, where Y might be time with family, freedom to choose project, or enough stability to focus on art. The book uses getting rich as the frame, but the mechanism is the same. Think creatively, act in a certain way, persist. You're still creating value. The result you're funding might not be a number in a bank account. It might be a kind of life. The 5 steps don't change. Step 2, daily repetition. Read The Science of Getting Rich every day for 30 days, 1 chapter or a fixed number of pages. Same time if you can at morning or evening. The goal is not to finish the book once. It's to let the ideas sit in your mind repeatedly. That repetition is what starts to shift paradigm and self-image. If you've already read it, read it again. The second read is where most people see the structure. Creative versus competitive. Gratitude, action in a certain way. Step 3, conscious gratitude. Every day, not as a magic ritual, as attention training. List 3 to 5 things you're grateful for. Can be small. The point is to orient your mind toward what exists, not only what's missing. Wattles ties this to the certain way of thinking. A mind focused on lack tends to act from scarcity. A mind that acknowledges what it has is more likely to see and take opportunities. So gratitude supports clarity and action. It's part of the system. Error people make, turning gratitude into performance. I have to feel it deeply or it doesn't count. That's not what we're doing. You're training attention. Some days you'll feel it. Some days you'll just list. The listing is enough. It shifts the default from what I don't have to what exists. Over time, that affects how you see opportunities and how you act. So keep it simple. 3 to 5 items. Same time of day if you can, no drama. Step 4, organized micro-action. Do something every day that moves in the direction of your definite purpose. Not hustle. Not 18 hours. 1 concrete action. A message, a call, a small project, a learning step. The criterion. It can be done today, it's in line with your purpose, and it's repeatable. Wattles says do everything that can be done today. Don't overload. Proctor says action creates evidence, evidence updates self-image. So micro-action is how you give your brain proof that you're the kind of person who acts. Step 5. Calm persistence. No drama, no I'll do this for 30 days and then I'm done. This is a way of operating, not a sprint. Some days you'll do more, some days you'll do the minimum. The minimum is read a bit, note gratitude, do one small action. Persistence here means you keep coming back. You don't use one bad week as proof that it doesn't work. You use return as the real training. What calm means in step 5. No urgency, no I have to see results in 30 days or I quit. The protocol is a way of operating. Results vary. Some people notice shifts in self-talk in 2 weeks. Some need a few months. The variable is how consistently you run the 5 steps and whether you shrink instead of quit when life gets hard. Calm persistence is, I'm in this for the way I think and act, not for a specific outcome by a specific date. That mindset is what keeps the protocol alive. When to adjust the protocol. If after 30 days you have no shift in self-talk and no single concrete result from your micro-actions, check 3 things. Is your definite purpose clear enough that you can name one action that moves toward it? Are you actually doing one micro-action per day, or only reading and gratitude? And are you in a context where one person's actions can move the needle, or are you in a situation where structural factors, health, debt, dependence, need other kinds of support first? The protocol is powerful for mindset and behavior. It's not a substitute for addressing crisis or getting professional help when you need it. Adjust, clarify purpose, add the missing step or get support, then return to the protocol. Shrink day example, 1 page of reading while coffee brews, 1 gratitude line in your notes and 1 5-minute micro-action. Send the message. That counts. The goal is continuity, not intensity. Simple 7-day dashboard takes 30 seconds. Reading 0-1, gratitude 0-1, micro-action 0-1. Calm score 0-10. At the end of the week, don't judge, just notice. Did the micro-action happen on low-energy days? That's the real identity shift. How do you know if it's working? Not by a big check in the mail. By 3 signs. 1, you're doing the daily reading and the micro-action without it feeling like a performance. 2, you notice your self-talk about money and value shifting. Less I can't, more what can I do today? 3, you have at least one concrete result that came from a clear, repeated action, a conversation, a small project, a skill learned, a boundary set. Those are evidence that the thermostat is moving. If after 30 days you have none of that, look at where you shrank the protocol. Did you skip the definite purpose? Did you skip the daily action? Often the missing piece is one of the 5 steps, not the whole idea. Diagnostic questions. What is your definite purpose in 1 sentence? If you can't say it, you can't act in a certain way. What was yesterday's micro-action? If there isn't one, the protocol wasn't tested. What's your shrink version on a hard day? If you don't have one, consistency will break. What to do when you slip, you miss a day of reading. Or you skip the micro-action for a week. The protocol doesn't require perfection. It requires return. So the next day you don't start over with a big gesture. You do the minimum. 1 page of the book, 1 line of gratitude, 1 tiny action. You're training return, not performance. Proctor and Wattles both assume you're human. The certain way includes coming back after you've stepped off. So no guilt spiral, just return. Concrete example of a micro-action. Definite purpose. I want to create value by teaching a specific skill and to fund my life without constant money anxiety. Micro-action today. Send 1 message to someone who could benefit from that skill, or write 1 short post that explains 1 aspect of it. Or spend 15 minutes improving 1 part of your offer. Not get 10 clients. 1 step, repeat tomorrow. That's action in a certain way, 30-second exercise you can do right now. Pause and answer in 1 phrase. What is 1 small action you could do today that would move in the direction of creating value? Not winning, not impressing, but adding something? It doesn't have to be big. 1 message, 1 15-minute block, 1 conversation. That's your micro-action for today. Write it down or say it out loud, then do it. Tomorrow you pick the next one. That's the protocol in motion. Summary of the 5 steps in 1 pass. 1. Write your definite purpose, 1 page or at least 1 sentence. 2. Read the book every day for 30 days, 1 chapter or a few pages. 3. Gratitude every day. 3 to 5 items, attention training, not performance. 4. 1 micro action every day in the direction of your purpose. 5. Calm persistence, no urgency, no all or nothing. When life gets busy, shrink the protocol and keep coming back. 3 quick objections and answers. This is too small. Good, it's designed to survive bad days. I did it and nothing changed. Then your micro-action wasn't tied to value creation, or your purpose wasn't specific enough. I missed days. Normal. The protocol trains return, not perfection. Before you leave, pick 1 micro-action you can do in the next 24 hours. 1 message, 1 improvement, 1 learning step. Write it down. That single action is the difference between inspired and installed. Here's how people misapply it in a modern way. They consume content, feel inspired, and call that action. But no outreach, no skill practice, no offer refinement, no value delivered. The system can't compound what you don't do. In this framework, thinking is useful only when it changes your next behavior. If this brought clarity, take what makes sense for you. I've put these ideas and the 5-step protocol into a guide, Creative Wealth, the structured way to think and act rich. It's in the pinned comment if you want to go deeper, only if it fits. Inside you'll get a 1-page purpose template, the 30-day tracker and the 7-day dashboard so you can run the experiment without overthinking. I'll see you in the next video.